Prospecting is fundamental to having a growing business. You got to be able to get out there and drive leads, but how do you do it? And what's the most efficient way to do it? And should we just mass blast? Should we actually take time and focus on each one? Wissam's here. Wissam came in to share exactly how to make sure we're doing prospecting the right way and the mistakes that a lot of people are making that's costing them. It's costing them opportunities, it's costing them revenue, and it's not good. So definitely check this out so you understand the best way to handle your prospecting.
Welcome to Scale Your SaaS, the podcast that gives you proven techniques and formulas for boosting your revenue and achieving your dream exit. Brought to you by a guy who's done just that multiple times. Here is your host, Matt Wolach.
Hey, welcome to Scale Your SaaS. Really excited to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. If you've been here for a while, you know the deal. We are here to scale your SaaS. We're here to help you understand how to grow through more leads, great leads, people who want to talk to you. And then how do we close them? How do we make sure that those people are ready to sign up? So if you are not a regular person here, if you're not a subscriber, definitely subscribe right now. You're not going to want to miss out on any of the awesome conversations we're going to have coming up. And today's conversation is something I'm really looking forward to. I've got Wissam here. Wissam Tabbara is with me. He's from Truebase. Wissam, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing really well as well. It's been a fun day so far and a great week. And I've been looking forward to this. So thank you for coming on the show.
Of course, happy to be here. I've been looking forward to it as well.
Good. Well, let me make sure everybody knows who you are. So Wissam is the founder and CEO at Truebase. With over 20 years of experience as an entrepreneur, he has founded 4 startups, including Truebase. And throughout his career, he has helped start several new companies and led them to success. Truebase, it simplifies and automates prospecting what it does, it quickly discovers potential customers with high conversion likelihood so you can prospect less and sell more. And really, unlike other platforms, searches include many sources like websites, not just profiles of the people. So it really gives you a great bit of information, and somebody in the sales side like me loves that. So really excited to talk with you about what you're doing there at Truebase. So thanks for coming on the show once again, Wissam.
Of course.
So tell me what's going on with you lately and what's coming up.
Yeah, well, busy with Truebase, as an entrepreneur, as you spend time exploring new businesses, new ideas, new trends. And, it sometimes means that, you're like knocking on people's doors and trying to get their attention. But every now and then, I heard about it before, and here it is happening to us, where people are knocking on your door. And being on the intersection of generative AI, which we leverage quite a bit, and downturn economy where people are trying to do more with less, by either leveraging more of their current team or to cut on software, which is something we provide pretty well. So can't complain. I think, the stars are more or less aligned, at least for now. So yeah, that's keeping us busy and excited.
I love that. Very cool stuff. I want to go back. What led you to start Truebase? How did that come to be?
Yeah, Matt, I'm sure this. Like I've been in multiple roles over my careers. I'm always, it seems for whatever reason, I'm tasked to do 3 things: either grow the team, or find more customers, or go and fundraise. And in those 3 occasions, it's technically a sales process. And I find myself spending a lot of time on LinkedIn of the world. And I'm a technologist. I still write code till today. And I just kind of really bugged me on how time consuming and manual this process is. I found myself spending hours a day really researching through LinkedIn, clicking next, writing Boolean searches, and all these fun, basically exact keyword matches, and then have 7 different tabs and Chrome extensions and all of that open, and doing a lot of import and export and asking the world of how do you know this, like building basically your business social graph. I'm like, my God, this is very time consuming, right? And in the world where you open up your Netflix app and it just reads your mind. It'll be like, here's the shows you will like, right? And if you think about it, like the Netflix app of the world, and this is like more a $15 problem a month, right? Like picking a movie. Where in reality, if you're a B2B business, there are millions of dollars on the line, and yet it's being done manually. So just like this discrepancy and the status quo is just very like alarming and challenging. So just when the time was right, I thought like I started building a little bit, some my own tooling on top of LinkedIn, build my own Chrome extension and, just a little bit, just kind of on the side to really speed up few things. Again, as a hobbyist who's doing this, not full time. And I was like, there's a lot of things we can do to really just automate this a little bit more. So it was a time to explore the next gig in my career, and I wanted to really tackle this problem. And I'm deep in, and I like really approaching this from multiple angles right now.
So cool! I love that. It's funny when something comes out, from your own needs. They say necessity is the mother of invention, and perfect example here. Well, why do you think it is that most people struggle with prospecting?
Yeah, well, if you think about the problem, if you're a B2B company, you want to have millions of dollars in the bank, right? What do? You want to discover new customers. You have, obviously your inbound and outbound, right? The inbound is a separate process. It's more a marketing effort. It's a one-to-many conversation you can have. Now, on the outbound, even if you start building a team of SDRs, or the titles might vary, inside sales, SDR, demand gen, all of that, depending on how your team is structured. But basically, you are tasked to sit on LinkedIn and others like ZoomInfo and Apollo, and there's many like really good tools out there, but they're all the same, right? They're all basically, you have to teach somebody your ICP, the SDRs. And now, by the way, it's usually an entry-level position, right? Because they're trying to really enter a revenue organization. It takes 4 months to hire and ramp up an SDR. Because it's an entry-level position, they last a little bit more than a year on the job, right? So if you think of the units of economics here, it's like, it's not great, right? If you're a business. And what do? You end up hiring more, right? And when you do hire more, you end up basically, it's very hard to translate your ICP, have them do the process well. And it turns out a lot to be like a quantity game or a number game. It's a spray and pray. It's one size fits all. And you get 1% response rate, right? And that's the top of the funnel problem, but it carries on, right? Because now, well, you're booking demos that are not super valuable. They're dragging you sometimes in a longer conversation. You're nurturing those leads that you're getting, but are they really good leads or not, right?
Sure.
And it gets a little bit challenging in how to do this, right? So if you want to do your work right, there are technically like 7 steps in prospecting. And as you know, like you can use, today the state is like, you can use a prospecting database. You discover companies. You want to kind of see how well they match your ICP, right? And you hop on their website, you continue the research there, which is usually also super time consuming, or it could be. And then you go back to the prospecting database. And now you're trying to figure out who are the people I can contact within this company. And now you spend more time, discovering their email. If you want to do your work right, you have to debounce the email. I will not trust any email that's being generated unless it's debounced at least a few other places to protect your sender reputation. Then the real work start, which is hyper-personalize the message. Then put them in a prospecting outreach. That takes a lot of time. That takes around 7 minutes per lead if you really want to do it right.
And if you go fast, that'd be quick.
If you go fast. Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is very, very time-consuming process when done right. But also when done right, the response rate go from 1% to, in double digit right away if you're really able to do it as expected.
Very cool. So what are some of the most successful factors of someone who's doing well in prospecting?
Yeah, so it's really like, it's kind of fine-tuning those 7 steps that I described, right? So if you kind of want to start there and work backward, be like, do you have your ICP well defined, right? Most people think of their ICP of like 3-5 filters, right? Here's the company size, here's the industry, and that's, maybe they have 1 or 2 things of the technology they use or revenue or that kind of thing. But in reality, rarely you have one ICP, right? Even if you're a small company. So, and that varies quite a bit. right? And so to be able to, and it's a moving target, right? Because you're running campaigns and your ICP is also continuously growing, right? So how can you really define that at scale? That's actually, sometimes a big part of the battle. And now can you efficiently match people to your ICP and personalize from there? And that's also another part of the battle. The other part is like, if you really think, no matter what product you're selling, at one point of time, especially when it comes to cold outreach, like it's in the single digit of people that are ready to buy your product right now. So most people are going and looking for the magic wand, right? The intent data, who's going to sell me the magic, wand? And then I'm able to really pinpoint to those customers and they're ready to buy tomorrow, right? When in reality, especially in the B2B space, 7% of the people are ready to buy your product right now. You might have caught them on time, you might have not. But that does not mean you can start building the relationship over time, right? So when the time comes, right, you are top of mind, okay, for your product, to buy that real estate in their target customer mind and to really stay in that place in their mind, top of mind if they're targeting problem X or Y. That also take an effort and you have to take a long-term approach to do that.
I totally agree. And I love the way you're putting it because I think it's so important for people to really understand this. I want to talk about your background. You started several companies. Have you been able to learn something new at each one? I mean, was there, obviously when you start a company you learn, but the next one you might have an idea. Were you able to acquire some new knowledge each time?
Yeah, great question. Matt, I'll tell you one thing is like, you always think that you did and you can next time is going to be easier. But in reality, that's not necessarily true. Now, you're always learning from your mistake. And I will say one thing. Instead of asking, what have I learned? What have you learned what to do in a specific startup? The more important question is, I've learned what to not do.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes, as you know, this is more valuable of a lesson. Each startup is a different beast. It always comes, even if you are within the same domain or industry, there's a lot of moving parts. Technology is moving, customers moving, the way people buy software are changing over time. There's always new ways to take product to market. So you have to stay on top of that. So what usually previous startup experience gives you, those are the super valuable thing, are, a great network, investors, employees, partners, people you can go to right away and they will return your call. Super valuable. Another thing, depending on your success, might give you a little bit more financial cushion for you to, bat more, right? And that's sometimes it's everything. And the rest is like all kind of really able to run inside the house a little bit better, right? Like how can you build a company? What are the things that matters? What are you think you should not ignore? And I always think like one of the most common mistakes is where people, they almost start with a solution, right? And they're looking for a problem. And usually it's like, hey, here's a technology, what's new? Let's go see how we can fit something to it. And they really they put the blinds on, they're very focused product, which is great. But in reality, there's amazing products that have been built over time that they've never seen the light. They were never taken to market. Right. And if anecdotally, if I'm going to think about what is the number one failure of a startup, it's because they didn't build the right culture.
Interesting.
Right? And I will not put go-to-market or team or product or all of that as right culture. And it means a lot of things. So I will draw an analogy to Amazon. Amazon, they're still... about the 14 principles that they put in place. It's really an amazing operating system to produce other product, to quickly validate, to quickly communicate, right? And that sometimes it feels like, hey, I'm startup. I'm supposed to move fast and not think about bureaucracy and all these HR stuff, if you think about it, that enterprise do. And I'm not saying go write a book about it, but kind of just really taking a step back and thinking about what are the values that you really prescribe to and build the whole company, because that's going to impact what? It's going to impact what feature you go build, who's you going to hire next, and a lot more and it makes a lot of decision easier. So if you, for example, like prescribe to be like, we are one team, we are data driven, we have to talk to customers first, right? As a cliche of basically values that they are, if you're really able to put them in use, you can really build a better product and you can really take product to markets a lot faster, which is very important for a startup.
I totally agree. So I love that you said culture there, because that's one I haven't heard in quite a while. A lot of people really think about, if I'm getting started, am I going to focus on product? Am I going to focus on marketing? And in fact, I've kind of long held the contention that too many times founders focus too much on product and don't start marketing early enough. Don't start that go to market when they should, and they wait too long. After you've done it once and then it doesn't go well, most second time founders realize we have to focus on marketing. But I do agree, culture is really important, and having that right culture can help everything else work well, right?
Absolutely. It makes or breaks a company, in my opinion. And not only it's not a 1 hour meeting where you're going to be like, okay, I define the culture. How can you really iterate on that culture? Because, I cannot bring a culture from a different company or values and retrofit them in this company. So ability to iterate on them as a team and really have people believe in it and really think and operate of them and constantly refer to them as their value, as the operating system of the company. That's how you can grow a lot more smart in a smarter way.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. What advice would you give to new software leaders who are starting out? You've done it a few times. What advice would you share for others who are just getting going now?
So you have to really be able to work with the unknown, right? Especially if you're doing startup of technology, you have the unknown and you have the unknown unknowns, right? So there is both of those. So I think setting up the right culture and value, understanding the domain in general and the problem you're trying to solve, and be very flexible to the solution, right? So I should tell you, we've done so far 3 pivots to land where we are today because we're flexible solution, but we really wanted people to be more productive in discovering new business, right? We were in the recruiting space, and even that we start refining until we landed. We're still as excited, but the solution changed over time, right? And there's even more timing around it. Like we were doing recruiting and it was COVID hit, massive layoffs, so there was a lot of stuff you have to be able to adapt and not, start with one thing and be stuck to it. They're stuck with it. The other thing is learning the stage of the company, right? If you're in a pre-seed, it's different than your seed round or series A. The metrics is different. The mindset is different. What you need to figure out is different. In a way, you're always trying to hit product market fit. And technically, once you hit product market fit, right, you graduated, you're no longer a startup. But the idea is on daily, weekly basis, you're approaching closer to product market fit. Okay. So now if you think you have the product and you have the market, and you'll be this is my hypothesis of what I think people want, right? Or what I think I can build. And here's what the market I think they need. So what have you done here? You have basically came up with a list of tens of assumptions you made. And now each assumption, right? You can say, okay, the naive way to think be I need to go build, validate all these assumptions. And then I can figure out, do I have a business or not? Great academic exercise. In reality, you don't have the time or resources to do that. Super time consuming. And you will run out of money. The market will move on even if you're able to do that. So just by thinking about it this way, you'll be okay, if these are all my assumptions, let me do a prioritization exercise. And you rate each assumption. You say, this one, if I don't have that right, I have no business. My whole value proposition is different. For example, one of them will be I want to build a website. Well, that's not a high risk assumption because there's a lot of people that's being built every day, right? But can I leverage a specific technology to solve a specific problem? That's a high risk assumption. If you don't have that right, you cannot make it happen. Or will people want to buy this specific problem? Or do they even have that specific problem? So if you take that exercise and write all these assumptions and mark them, are this high risk assumption or this is low risk assumption? The next part of the exercise will be what's the effort to validate this assumption? Is it low or is it high? So now you have think of a spreadsheet. You have the high and low of risk assumption, and high, low on effort. And now you're always refining and revisiting those. And where do you start with? What's the most yield is the lowest effort with the highest risk assumption. And the more you're approaching there, the more you're validating more the whole value proposition. and you're able to refine, right? Pivot, adjust on a high level, right? And every time you adjust, you come up with a higher list, a longer list of assumptions that you have that you also have to continue this exercise on and on. So that's how you kind of like start covering more ground at the early stage so you can approach your product market fit and have more conviction in what you're building.
I love it. Excellent advice. I hope people take it. I want to make sure that our audience is able to learn more about what you're doing and Truebase. How can they get in touch with you or learn about Truebase?
Yeah, LinkedIn is a great place. Wissam Tabbara, one word. I'm always happy to answer questions there. Also email wissam@truebase.io. I'm always love to hear from others, like-minded ideas. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate you coming on the show, Wissam. Thank you.
Of course, Matt. It's been fun.
Absolutely. And thank you for listening. For everybody out there, make sure you're subscribed to the show. You will not miss out once you subscribe. Can't wait to see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Scale Your SaaS. For more help on finding great leads and closing more deals, go to mattwolach.com.